In this webinar, we will cover aging, the aging of AR report, and the custom aging report. Aging is how long unpaid balances have been on the account. In Open Dental, we keep track of aging in 4 ranges. There is the 0 to 30 days range, which will show balances that have been added to the patient's account in the last 30 days and are still unpaid. The next option is 31 to 60 days, which will show balances that were added between 31 and 60 days from the as of date on the aging report. The third range is the 61 to 90-day range, which will show any production added to the account in that range that has not been paid off. The final range is over 90 days, which will show all balance over 90 days old. The report will also show you the total balance. Patients can have balances in multiple ranges. For example, a patient can have an over 90-day balance from an appointment they had last year, and they can have a 30-day balance from an appointment they had last month. There are some module preferences that affect AR. The main one is the pay plan charge logic. That is available here under Setup, Account, and over here on the side under Pay Plans, Pay Plan Charge Logic. If we select the first option for Do Not Age, Legacy, payment plan debits or amounts due and payments only show within the payment plan and will not affect balance of the patient's account or aging. The AR report will not show any payments due for the payment plan. There will just be the initial credit to the patient's account for the treatment completed amount attached to the payment plan. If we go with the second option here for age credits and debits, which is the default, payment plan debits, credits, and payments will show as line items in the patient's account ledger and will affect balances and aging. When the patient has a payment due for their plan, that charge will reflect on the AR report. If we choose the option for age credits only, patients are credited for the payment plan when the payment plan is created. That removes the balance for those procedures from the patient's account and onto the payment plan. It will create individual credits for each procedure that was attached to the plan. It will not post any debits to the account when payments are due for the plan, so it will not affect the AR report when payment plan payments are due if you use the option for age credits only. If you use the option for no charges to account, rarely used, patients are not credited for payment plans, so the account balances age normally. The balance is not removed from the patient's account when the plan is made, unlike any of the other 3 options here. So the account will age normally. So let's go ahead and take a look at that Aging of AR report. It's available here under Reports, Standard, and then it's the first report under the monthly section. Here it should default the as of date to today's date, but you can also type in any date that you want. So we will just go ahead and type in today's date. This as of date is the date that it will calculate the aging based off of. So you can put this as a historical date to see what your aging was as of that historical date. It will only show you the balances and the transactions entered into the patient's account up into that date. It will not show you anything past this as of date on the report. Then we can go ahead and filter the account by the age of the account. This determines which patients will be included on the account. If you set the option to over 30 days, it will only show patients who have charges in their account over 30 days. So if they only have a balance that is less than 30 days due, they will not show up on the report if you choose the over 30 days option. Similar thing with the over 60 days, it will only show patients who have a balance over 60 days in their account. If they don't have a balance at least 60 days old, it will not show on this report. If it is set to 90 days, it will only show patients that have a balance over 90 days on their report, but it will still age the accounts normally. So if a patient has a balance that's over 90 days old, it will also show any balances that they have in the 30 and 60-day range on the report. If you do any balance, it will show any patients that have any balance on their account. The next option here is group by. This determines how to group the calculations. So we have two options here. We have family and we have individual. If we group by family, the patients will be listed under the account of the guarantor of the family, and there'll only be one line item for each family, and it will be listed under the guarantor's account. If we choose individual, each individual patient will be listed individually. They will not be grouped under the guarantor's account. The next option we have is to age write-off estimates. If we check this, it will subtract the write-off estimate amounts from aging totals. And the write-off estimates are aged by procedure date for this report. So if you'd like to include those write-off estimates, you would just check this box here to include it. Another option we have is to show last payment date, which makes the report print in landscape. This will add onto the report the last date that you received a payment from either the patient, if it's grouped individually, or from the family, if it's grouped by family. It will show the date of the last payment that you received from anyone in the family. If you group by family, you will have this option down here to exclude income transfers if needed. If you have this checked, this will have the payments aged normally. So it will exclude income transfers. If money was income transferred away to another patient or another provider, it will only show the payment on the day that it was made. It will exclude any transfers that were done after that payment was put in. They will just be aged by the date of their original payment, not by the transfer date for that payment. The next option we have up here is to exclude patients with. We can exclude patients with an inactive status. That means it will not include any patients who have a status of inactive in their edit patient information window. We can also exclude any patients with an archive status. Similar thing here, it will exclude any patients with an archive status in their edit patient information window. We can also exclude patients with bad addresses or no zip code. This means that they do not have a zip code entered in their family module information, their edit patient information window, so their address is not complete. We can also choose to include patients with. These options here, we can include patients with negative balances. By default, patients with negative balances will not show on the report unless it's grouped by family. If it's grouped by family, it will include patients with negative balances automatically. But if it's grouped by individual and you would like to see those negative balances, you do have to check this box to include patients with negative balances. We can also include patients with insurance estimates and no balance. This would be patients that have a zero balance in their account but do have an insurance estimate outstanding. If this is unchecked, it will not show any patients with a zero balance. And then we have below that the options to only include patients with. So we can only see patients with negative balances if we like. If we check the report to only see patients with negative balances, it will not show any patients with a positive balance. If we choose to include only patients with insurance estimates and no balance, it will only include those patients that are at a zero balance but still have an insurance estimate outstanding. You can check both of these boxes at the same time to only see patients with negative balances or an insurance estimate and a zero balance. The next option that we have here is we can filter by billing types. By default, the report should be checked on all when you open it up. If you would like to run the aging report based on a specific billing type, you would just need to uncheck this box, and then you'd be able to select the billing type, or if you would like to run it for multiple billing types, you can also hold down the control key on your keyboard and then select any of the billing types that you would like to include. A similar thing to the billing types filter option exists with the provider filter option here. It should default to being checked to all, but if you would like, you can run it for individual providers, or you can run it for a group of providers as well. So if we wanted to just do it for these 3 providers, we can just select those holding down the control key. And then if you do have the clinics feature enabled in Open Dental, there will be another filter option to the side of the provider's filter option, which will be a clinics filter option, and it will look the exact same as these billing types and providers ones. It will default to having all of your clinics checked, and then you can uncheck the all box to select any individual clinics that you would like to run the report based off of. Another option that we have here in our Aging of Accounts Receivable report window is the ability to generate a query based on this report. So if we go ahead and do that, it would just be kind of the raw text for the query of this report if you wanted to run this report as a query instead of a standard report in Open Dental. So if we press OK here, it will actually generate the report for us based on these filter options that we've put in. So to generate the report, I will uncheck these options here so we can just see the standard report if you just left it based on any balance, all billing types, all providers, and grouping by individual. Here we can see it will divide the aging into the different sections here. Here on the aging report, we can see that it divides the balance in the 0 to 30 days, the 31 to 60 days, and the 61 to 90 days. We also have over 90 days. So we'll divide it into these 4 columns, and then it will also give you a total for the balance that they have over all of this time. It will also give you any write-off estimates and insurance estimates as applicable. And it will show you what it thinks the patient would be responsible for out of the total balance that the patient has. If we take a look at our other report here, our other aging report, it is called the custom aging report. So the aging of AR report is available here on the top of the monthly section in reports, and we would just need to scroll down here further to the bottom. It's the third one from the bottom here, custom aging. This is pretty similar to the aging of AR report, but allows you to customize it more. So here on the custom aging report, when you first open it, it will be blank. To get any information to populate on the report, we do need to press this refresh button. And then it will use the information below to generate the report for you. So here we have the same option as the aging of AR report. We can set an as of date. And the as of date works the same way as in our aging of AR report, where it will run the aging calculations based on this date. Below that, we have the options to include the following. We can include procedure fees, adjustments, pay plan charges, pay plan credits, patient payments, insurance estimates, write-offs, and write-off estimates. The things that are checked will be included. So if we would like to additionally include any insurance estimates and write-off estimates, we would just need to check those boxes and then refresh our report. It should just open up to the report having these options checked and include the following. It should just have insurance estimates and write-off estimates unchecked. You can also decide whether you want to exclude, include, or show only negative balances. If we have it on the option to exclude negative balances, it will not show any patients that have an overall negative balance. If we choose to include them, they will be included on this report. So we can see now it's added one additional patient to our report. If we decide to show only patients with negative balances, it will only show those patients on the report and no other patients. The next option we have here is the age of account. This is very similar to what you would see in the aging of AR report. This will only include the patients that have an age over 30 days. If you do over 30 days, if their balance is less than 30 days old, they will not show on the report. If we do over 60 days, it will only show patients that have a balance over 60 days old. It will age their balance normally, as we can see here, but it will only include them if they have some balance that's over 60 days old. Same thing with the over 90 days, they will only be included if they have a balance that's over 90 days old. And then for any balance, it will show you any patients that have an account balance, even if it's in the 0 to 30 days. Then we can decide how we want to age write-offs here. We can age write-offs by insurance payment date. If we choose to age write-offs by the insurance payment date, the write-offs will be added on the same date as your insurance payment is added. If we decide to age write-offs by procedure date, the write-offs will be entered on the same day the procedure was set complete. And if you choose initial claim date for estimates and insurance pay date for adjustments, this will put an estimate on for the write-off on the initial claim date. And then if that estimate is incorrect, it will post an adjustment on your insurance pay date for the difference between that estimate and the actual write-off. The default setting that this report will begin on for age write-offs by can be determined here under Reports, Standard, Setup, and then Miscellaneous settings here on the top. It is this drop-down option here. So it will, for now, default to insurance pay date. We could change it to procedure date or initial claim date / insurance pay date if needed in here. You can also change it individually on the report. This is just setting the default option that the report will open to. So if we go back to our custom aging report here, we can also decide how we would like to group this report. Similarly to the Aging of AR report, we can group it by family, which will post patients under the name of the guarantor of their family, and will only have one line item per family. Or we can group them by individual, which will show each patient individually. The next filter option that we have is billing types. As with the Aging of AR report, it will default to having all checked for your billing types, but you can uncheck it and select any individual ones as needed. With the providers, it's the same thing. It will automatically default to being checked for all, but you can select individual ones or hold down Control to select multiple if needed. And then if you do have that clinics feature enabled, it will have a clinics feature filter available here underneath the provider filter, which would work the same way. It would be checked to all by default, and it would have all of your clinics listed out for you to be able to select if you did need to run based on one clinic or multiple clinics. Then we have these check boxes down here on the bottom. If we decided to check the box for age credits, it would cause the credits to age in the increments shown, the normal increments of 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and over 90, using the standard calculation, which is applying credits to oldest charges first. This will show the credits when they were actually added and may cause patients to show a credit balance in one of these aging categories, even though their overall balance would not be a credit balance. We can also decide to exclude patients from this report. So we can exclude inactive patients, which are patients that have been set to an inactive status in their Edit Patient Information window. We can also exclude archived patients, which are patients that have been set to the status of archived in their Edit Patient Information window. And we can also exclude patients with bad addresses, which means they have no zip code entered in their Edit Patient Information window. The last option that we have here in this report is we can print the report. So if you would like to print this report, you can definitely do that just using this print button at the bottom. And this will open the report in a window that looks similar to the normal Aging of AR report. And it would allow you to export the report or print it from this window as needed. And that concludes our Aging of AR report webinar.
Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. If you have additional questions, please call our support line at 503-363-5432 or access our complete online manual at opendental.com. And to make sure you're staying up to date on our latest training videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications.